Yay!
When Karen called me through my colleague at Cal State LA, Jimmy Moss, who's the vice president of Trade&Row, said, yeah, finally time to get over here. I've been by here about 1 million times. And I do a lot of moderating. I'm doing 2 more moderating this week at City Club, and I fill in occasionally on KPCC. You hear me filling in for Pat Morrison or Larry Mantle. But I gotta tell you, my heart and soul is at neighborhood film places like this. I just think that the kind of work that places like the Echo Park Film Festival, Film Center, and Trade&Row do, it's what makes places like Los Angeles livable, meaningful, important, and the kind of films you're gonna see tonight, I think are gonna surprise you. I've seen one of the films, but I've done homework on all the other ones, so there's lots to talk about tonight. The first of the films we're going to look at, the first 3 films, are 3 short films, roughly 10 minutes, 10, 11 minutes each. Übergangszeit, which I did my German homework, even though it tells you at the beginning of the film. It means in transition, or in a period of transition, although I really wish that Renee could be here to tell us how that applies specifically to this film, because it's a German terminology. But it is relentlessly gloomy, a little bit gloomy. And since she's not going to be here, what we can do is we can, dish her completely because she's not going to be here. So I want to not just watch these films. I'd love to hear some talk and some chat about it. It's a natural professor in me. I got to get this. So this will be on the midterm. Misunderstood Child, I think, first of all, promises to be an interesting film in and of itself. Delsita Barnfield's film from last year, and it's made the rounds of lots of festivals. The really cool thing about Misunderstood Child is that it comes from the downtown video collective, downtown television collective that is housed in a 110-year-old fire station in Lower Manhattan. That was the organization that was put together by Jon Beaupre and his, at the time, Keiko Tsuno, his girlfriend, later wife, and now separated, but still running the downtown community television, so it's downtown TV. If you know anything about documentaries, Jon Beaupre and Keiko Tsuno really put cameras and microphones in the hands of young filmmakers who would have otherwise not had any chance to tell their stories. I think really, maybe a little bit overly dramatic, but they, for probably more than anyone, young couple in America, said that it was really important to tell the neighborhood stories, not just the big world stories, not just the stories about massive social change on a big scale, but that there was drama and meaning and interest in neighborhoods and small stories that might not be picked up by a news organization. So from the tradition of starting downtown TV, and incidentally their technical contribution was they became one of the first sort of retail places, or home video kind of places, that you could actually take your audio along with you. You didn't have to sit in one location and set the microphone there and record that, which meant that with the mobile camera, where you can go and what you can do became a big deal. We don't think anything about this today. Anyone who's making a film, you take your camera, you go shoot where you go. But this was a big deal 30 years ago in the late 70s when they started. It had occurred before, but it hadn't occurred at the sort of street level, where people could take a camera, go out, and shoot their life story of their neighborhood and what they're doing. And while Delsita Barnfield's story, again, I don't know if there's a theme of being relentlessly gloomy, but got a tough life. But you'll see that that's the aesthetic they come from, the DIY, do-it-yourself, and that as a do-it-yourself aesthetic, there's no apology. We're not saying, we really wish we could have that big, massive 32mm camera with Dolby stereo and 5.2 surround sound. No, the little camera, the handheld cameras, where we're telling some really intimate and wonderful stories. Seen but not heard, from the great tradition of fierce, crazy, we're a mature audience here, go fuck yourself, in your face, lesbian, hardcore, dyke, make apologies to no one cinema. Seen but not heard, Cyril Phillips, as a filmmaker, has a history of being someone who just puts her chin out and says, let me tell you how it is. And I think that you'll see in this film tonight not only her incredible power in your face kind of approach, which I love to connect with people like Essex Hemphill and some other great poets and African American filmmakers of the last 20 years, but also hiding inside that kind of toughness, someone who's deeply, deeply sensitive and deeply passionate about the topic she's caring about. I think the piece is being, of all the pieces we're looking at tonight, to my understanding, it's the one that's made it to most festivals in the last year or so. Then Dora's going to show us some of the collective pieces that the folks at We See are working on. Sort of a roundup, I take it, Dora?
I'm sorry?
Sort of a summary, a roundup of some of the projects that
Yeah.
We See is doing. And we'll get a chance to talk to Dora at that point. Then we're going to take a little break, have some popcorn, have some wine, and then look at our two big features. And we are waiting for two folks, Lauren Gadd and Ryan Howard, to join us after Left Ahead. To get here in time, we're hoping to get here in time. We'll talk to them in a little bit longer, more extended conversation, which I'm warning you in advance because I'm a journalist. I'm going to be putting on my recording deck and interviewing this way, not for audio purposes here, because we can hear each other pretty well here, but more because I want to record the conversation, so when I write about it or blog about it, I've got some first-hand audio and a record of this group getting together. And then finally finish the evening off with Sasha Waters-Fryer's film, This American Gothic, which is a very clever idea, a funny idea, and a charming idea that the Grant Wood, the iconic Grant Wood painting of American Gothic, that house and that community has been in danger of disappearing, like many historic communities across the country. And this group of sort of tough-ass neighborhood women decide they want to keep this community together, and especially keep the house together. And they're not exactly what you would expect of this famous sort of American Gothic, straight, white, clean-cut, farmer, red state, flyover state kind of mentality. And I say that tongue-in-cheek because there's some wonderful insights into activism in that film. So without further ado, let's dive in and take a look at Übergangszeit. This is the film by Renee Pat, and it was made a little bit earlier this year.